Sure, I just lost
it. Is live, so you should be able to access the control panel now.
Refresh.
Hello guys, we're just trying to get our technical stuff mastered here through YouTube Live. We had a little bit of technical delay, and we're getting ready to get started as soon as we can pull up our control panel so that we can see your live questions. We've also integrated your questions from my page at patreon.com. And that's where we do most of my channelings. For those of you who don't know and you're wondering why I'm not on YouTube as much, you can find me channeling some of the more major Christ consciousness beings at patreon.com/Pamela Aaralyn. And we'll put that in the links below.
I gotta say, there's a lot of questions already in YouTube. They're just piling up.
I'm sure that there are. So we can switch them back and forth between live questions if you want, Paul, if you really see a live question that stands out. That way everyone gets a chance.
There's like pages and pages of...
Yeah. Let's just toggle back and forth. That way people get a chance to participate, you know, because we did have some questions that people wrote in the Patreon page in advance for those people who can't be here. So we'll just toggle back and forth. And if you see something that stands out at you, Paul, go ahead.
Okay, cool.
He'll let you know if he doesn't want to answer.
No doubt that he will.
Yeah, so when I first saw Archangel Lucifer, which he doesn't actually like to be called that, and we'll get into that here in a moment in the channeling, he came across to me as Archangel Michael, which was the second being that I saw as a young child. And when I saw Archangel Michael, I would see two aspects of him. One aspect with a blue sword, the other aspect that looked incredibly seraphim, serpentine in nature, almost like a dragon, very unusual, flowing, shape-shifting and in and out of different forms based upon what the reflection was. And what I mean by that is he will show himself to you based upon your particular state of ego. And being that I saw that aspect of him as a young child, and I had very little ego, I saw a very beautiful transcending light of various colors that are not human. They are indescribable. But the strongest color that I did recognize was gold. So I would see a lot of gold and other colors that would weave in and out of each other. And the best way that I can describe his form to you, insofar as how he chose to project to me, was through a serpentine dragon form. For those of you who are familiar with the dragon races, it would come across like that. And then when he would switch into Archangel Michael form, then I would see the standard Archangel Michael with the big blue sword. Which for me, Archangel Michael looks very unusual too. He is very masculine. He doesn't have wings. There's no big shield. There's no big armor. There's none of that. It's just a tall, massive, powerful being that has a bit of a human form that is projected just so that someone like me, a young child at that time, would not be afraid. But the main thing that I recognized was the flowing energy of this Archangel Michael and Archangel Lucifer being one and the same, and shifting out of dualistic forms until I could understand something without duality. And then when I could understand something and any notion of what they were teaching me without duality, then I would be able to see a true form. And it wasn't anything that looked human. It's not anything that I can give you a reference point to, because you haven't really seen these worlds in the way that I've been taught to see them. But I'm going to let him tell you that story. This channeling will be in the initial stages of it, clear conscious channeling, which means that I'm just going to be describing and repeating back some things that are being stated to me. I sat with him this morning for many hours, and I thought about how he wanted to introduce himself, because we always have an introductory statement in the clear conscious channeling portion. And basically, he said a lot. He wanted me to share the story of creation. And he said it so mildly, just like that. And I had asked some questions because I knew that many of you would be asking questions about wars between Archangel Michael and Lucifer, and if they were different, if they were opposing, how did we get here, things of this nature. So he wanted to talk about that. And then I asked him to tell me a story of human creation and of his creation and of his experiences, you know, if he has fallen, et cetera, et cetera. And what he told me was interesting. He told me that he had shared this story with me when I was very, very young. And I had originally asked Yeshua, and Yeshua directed me to him for this story. So that's where it came from. So I wrote down the story as he shared it to me a few hours ago, and I'm just going to read it back exactly with what I asked him and what he said to me. So for those of you who understand that when something is pre-channeled, I just write it down and read it back to you. So we're going to start here. The question that I asked him was, what about you and Archangel Michael? Many people believe that there was a war and that you are either the same or that you are different beings. What is the truth? And he said, Michael is creation. I am the experience of creation. If you're here experiencing creation, how can you be outside of creation? You can't. So you are creation experiencing itself. And hence I am Michael, and Michael is I. Two aspects of the same oneness. And you're not separate from this, which means both aspects are within you as well. And speaking of you, I'm sure that you want to know how you arrived here and how you would arrive to the so-called lower realms. We were born of oneness, so you may ask, how did humanity get to be separated from God? And it is quite simple. Every soul in this realm is one who chose to join I, who you call a fallen angel. There's a little bit of truth to the story, but you aren't wrong, bad, or an evil being, and neither am I. You are rather a very brave and adventurous one, not one who rebelled against God to choose to come here, but you are one who disconnected from God within yourselves for the wondrous experience of reunion. At this point, this is when I asked him to tell me the story of himself and of creation. And I'm going to repeat what he said. It's rather long, so please follow along and you can ask all your questions later. He said, those of you who experience the separation cannot comprehend any being wanting to remove itself from God's love. No being would want to subject itself to such torment and torture, yet you are here, are you not? You must bring this story within yourself and understand it from a symbolic perspective. I am simply the aspect of you that is lost, that you believe is cut off from source, separate. I was not always like this. I too bathed in the love and light of source of all creation. I too was a being of light. I too knew myself as an aspect of God. I too knew myself as God. Do not mistake my confidence as unique to myself. All beings outside of your polarized thinking experience themselves as spark of creator, for God has many faces. It is only beings in the polarity of good and bad that can possibly see creation as anything else. I must take credit for holding you in this mode of expression, and as the story tells, my job was to hold the forgetting. It was a challenge for beings such as myself to move into the void and to create a space that was outside of God. Could it be done? Well, we were curious to try. God granted us free will, the power of decision, the power to create a choice. I stood at crossroads, and Source gave me a choice to go one way or another. And the sign says, to God this way, to darkness that way, and I chose. I knew that to choose the path back to God was the choice of God, but the overall plans were to deny God within myself and move beyond. And I took a deep breath and curiously stepped into the darkness, and then wonder began. The rebellion, as you call it, was real, yet created by God itself. 1/3 of the angels followed me into this alleged rebellion against God. Any came, brave and curious aspects of God, falling into the darkness, the unconscious part of God's creation. We fell into the void to hold the forgetting, to create a space for the intense growth of all. So my lawlessness, as you call it, was encouraged, and my rebellion, as you have called it, smiled upon by a loving God. And as my story continues, in a pattern of light, I fell a blueprint, an idea of light, and a fallen angel, not cast out by God, but surrendering to a higher call, an impulse from source. And the idea was to create a planetary body capable of holding an energy that would isolate and segregate the planet from the love of the body and the love of the rest of the cosmos. This isolation would enable the inhabitants to grow and evolve and learn through all possibilities, good or bad. And I, Lucifer, as you have called me, would sleep in the center of this soon-to-be planet, holding an energy that would allow the plan to be implemented. And as I fell, I wrapped cloudy veils of illusions around me, and these veils, these illusions, were to become the reality of your planet Earth, weaving together, creating the illusions and myths of man. Holding firmly the histories of mankind, I slept, encased in the hard rock of your forming planet, safe from harm, undisturbed until I was to awaken and take the planet to light by my awakening. And as I fell through darkness, the reaction to my presence created wisps of energy that swirled and spiraled like mist on an early morning. And as I descended further and further, the wisps of energy became dense and more dense until a form could be quite clearly seen. It was a dragon form with giant wings, a serpent of the void, the unknown. Encased with the safety of the loving embrace of the dragon of creation, I fell still further into the darkness. And as I radiated the energy of forgetting out of my center, a strange phenomenon could be seen to occur. The energy created level upon level of reality. And at first there was only a slight disconnected feeling from source. But as the process proceeded, the levels became more dense and dense, creating more and more levels of forgetting until the dragon of all creation could be seen to be split in two. A mighty dragon of light and dark, of polarity, of duality, divided. And as I came to my resting place, the dragon divided even more, splitting and separated into 4 distinct and unique energies. These dragons of creation would make up the final resting place of my heart. The dragons, serpents of energy, danced and wove a beautiful pattern of light, each carrying its own ingredients to create physical reality. First was the dragon of fire, a passionate elemental of light. Its fire trailed ablaze into the darkness of the void, cascading shards of light as it swooped down and down into the depths of the unknown. And with a roar and a torch of fire, it exploded into a giant ball of burning light. Then came the serpent of the deep, the water and fluidity, the lifeblood of creation, its aqueous, moist body casting trails of mist in its past. Its ghostly form alluring and hypnotizing all. Almost invisible to the eye, the elemental dragon of air could only be recognized by the ripples that could be seen in the void as it flew into the spiral dance. Its ambience and openness created a space in between the swirling fire and the water-laden clouds. And with the interaction of energies, a 4th and final energy was seen to hold all the other dragons in form, and this was the dragon of earth. What it created was not as dense as we know physical reality, but was an etherical, structured pattern of energy and sound that held the shapes of others as well as itself. Its immense body stretched and layered, creating the very weft of the carpet of creation. Earth, air, fire, and water, the very elements of all physicality. And chasing their tails, they spiraled around and around, weaving a code of denser and denser energy around me, imprisoning me in the softness of matter. The pattern that they created together came to rest in this darkness, and the dragons, succumbing to the sleepy, sedating energies of forgetfulness, fell asleep too, drifting into a dream time where they created and dreamed dreams of a planet that could express all of their energies in an illusory way. The hallucinations of their making wove together until a physical planet could be seen hanging in the furthest reaches of the void, and there it hung all alone, illuminated by pinpoints of light that had now been created all around it. Isolated from that which it could see, it lay sleeping, nestled in the womb of the void, unknowingly looked upon by the stars of consciousness that danced all around it. Gaia was her name, giving animated intelligence actuality. And she made possible the dragon dreams, which in turn were able to manifest through the forgetting that I held in the center of the planet. The dragons created Gaia and became her skeleton framework for her to hang her dreams upon. And so the place of forgetting was created, and your planet Earth was born. As the veils wrapped around me like blankets, I slept, dreaming my dreams that tormented my very soul. Lost in this dense realm, I was completely cut off from both the love of Gaia and the source of all light. I lived, lost, and alone in these dreams, and these shadowy realms of ghosts and demons, cold, dark, devoid of love. Characters began to form as the body of your planet began to create living forms in which I could dream. And my face was no longer a face of purity. It was now a face of what you deem as a devil, a black and hard mask of illusions, contorted, evil, and you would see this as hideous. Black, lifeless pupils blocked all light, and lost in my dreams so dark, I created characters. As I held the energy of the darkness, I surrendered to the harshness of the environment and fulfilled my mission to create darkness, evil, and what you call death, albeit an illusion. In consistent cycles, I dreamt, becoming denser and denser, forgetting more and more of who I was and my true home, perverted by the energies I had created around myself. Deserted, desolate, lost, and alone, I still slept. My only comfort was an insatiable desire for power, a lust for life, blood, and death that somehow would help to fill this vacancy. And it soothed the indescribable yearning for something that I could not quite remember. Twisted beyond recognition, tormented, insane, and driven mad by this craving for an unknown something, I began to cast evil forces against the angry and vengeful, and against my own very soul. And these dreams became realities as I incarnated into physical bodies of Gaia's making. Not all were bad. Some were honorable and proud kings and wise men of old, yet they all paled in insignificance compared with the blackness of my other lives, one after another, vile and loathsome characters which turned a wheel that you call karma. My face, black and hard, was now even unrecognizable to myself. I lost my memory of my own very soul, which slept deep into the recesses of my heart. My heart was a void, black, and allegedly dead, and so it seemed. Yet in the velvety depths of this darkness nestled safety from harm. My light slept, awaiting the time when my love would return and awaken me to my true form. I had long since convinced myself that this part of me was lost forever, and yet in the darkest of nights, cries could be heard as I dreamt my strange dreams of another place, and the sorrow overwhelming me until I could withstand it no more. And once more, I would release vengeance upon those who believed that I could, and those who wished to be in prison, then that would occur. I want to just get to the point where he was talking about grace. Here it is. As I fell as a pattern, a blueprint of an idea, I held in form an energy that enables all of this, beings such as you, to experience light, dark, good, and bad. And you all come from many places in the universe. There is much healing to be done. The only place in the universe where beings can transmute negativity into positivity is on Earth. And this is enabled because I hold a framework that allows there to be duality. You see, it is not me that commits the sins that you project onto me. It is yourselves. You cannot bear the darkness in your own souls, so you disown it and project it onto me, the evil character, and such is your nature, being held in forgetfulness and duality. You as a species have a tendency to judge, and this in and of itself is the downfall of man. You have heard the story of the fall of Eden. I did not commit any sin. I just gave you the choice. You, in your truth, choose to judge the situation and fall from grace. Grace is the ability to blindly follow the intent of the Creator. You, as creative beings, choose to choose. But it was when you judged that you fell from your place in heaven, as you have called it. All I did was give you the space where you could have a choice. I held this energy framework for millions of years and allowed beings from all over the universe to come here and transmute karma, to learn the lessons Earth so gladly teaches. And through me, you will learn to heal your judgments, and you will learn to love the darkness as well as the light, as they are the two faces of God. Please wake up to yourselves, and I awaken to love. Gather in the projections that you have surrounded me with and begin to heal. Wash away the darkness that encases me, and I will be free to be the light bringer. And I will awaken within your hearts as well. As my story continues for you, your earth was a land of illusions, and at its center stood a hard and blackened rock, once an etherical mount of veils, veils of illusions and dreams. And it was said that the very rock held the story of all mankind, the legends and myths of long ago. Each story, each legend in veils, one upon another, rose until the combining of the stories became as solid as living rock, the island of veils. It was the place of dreams, the sleeping place of all dragons, the resting place of nobles. And when the planet was etherical, the creators walked the land in peace and beauty. As the planet began to become dense, the creators left to return to their origins in the ether, in the cosmos. They left one of their kind who would remember them in time, and this kind was the brightest light, one who would remember all and would realign them in all to the light of creation. And upon this one's awakening, he would bathe the whole planet in light and cast shadows, all illusions, into the darkness. All beings would live in the light and love. And this being is I, Heylal. It was said that in an isolated part of the world, there would stand a mount of rock, and in that mount, this light bringer would sleep. The light of the one would shoot out of the top of the mount, and like a laser, it would crisscross and create a light framework throughout the entire planet, and the light body of the planet would be created. This light body would redesign the world, and all the veils would be removed, and a new planet reality would be created. This central pinnacle of the story stood in our time, surrounded by sea, in the beautiful bay of hopes and sorrow, where once it had been surrounded by dense forest. And it was the very first place to become the densest of the dragon's dreams, the holder of the original plan, the first physical point of your planet. Contained within the very living rock were the files of ancestral knowledge, the planetary consciousness. It was the very DNA of your planet. And in the very heart of forgetting, I lay sleeping, holding the energy of the forgetting in the center of the mount. And from this focal point, the world was created. Dreams woven upon dreams until the world as we now know it was created. The bay of hope and sorrow, with the mount at its center, was a symbolic reflection of the story of creation. I ruled from within the safety of the mount, black and foreboding. It stood stark against the ashen gray of the sky, a darkened silhouette etched upon a cloud canvas. And the mount, like a burnt and fossilized hand, stretched up to crush and destroy the sun that shone from behind the blackened clouds that rolled in from a distant shore. And I had entered the sleeping minds of the dragons. I had infiltrated their thoughts, trapped them unconsciously in the dreams of what you believe is death, and possessing the very landscape with thoughts. The very air around the mount was putrid. Clouds of gray cobwebs could be seen hanging around the highest point, and many had tried to enter the mount, yet none had made it because of the toxic and foul air that wrapped tightly around its victims, and those who failed were said to be haunted images of their former selves. With long and blackened fingernails, as you have portrayed me in this story, I, your metaphor, wrapped upon the black hand arm of my throne, was waiting, and I could wait forever, for I had nowhere to go. The body at my feet, on the other hand, was temporary. Death in time awaited it. Like some greedy monster, it devoured its prey, and it trapped souls within the confines of the rock. I listened, and I could hear the cries. which were like music. Tormented and lost, I understood their hearts, and they were held in the throes of dying over and over again. Many were blind to the dark and its evil, and they carried out their lives, sanctimonious in their beliefs in a false God, too busy worshiping their merciless God. They were totally unaware that, in fact, they worshipped me. Praying to what they would consider holy and right, they unwittingly gave their power to me. Occasionally, my thoughts would take form and would stretch across through my hand and reach into the hearts. But mostly, it's your thoughts that fed me. I could feel your blackened life force, like rotten fruit from within, draining into my veins and yours. Your sins, as you have called it, contaminated my very soul. You have said that I made you servants and slaves to carnal desires, and that you were an easy prey. And then I could use you to affect and manipulate the outside world. This is what you have stated. Consider the mirror. I am a mirror to the human soul. I only reflect your darkness and all that is not with God. The darkest recesses of your soul are reflected in the vision that you have of me. You cannot accept that there are places in your souls that are dark. You talk about being sinners, but how many of you have the courage to accept the darkness within you? You have spent an eternity trying to project this falling onto others and myself, blaming, judging, simply digging deeper and deeper graves for yourselves. Yet I do not judge you. It is fine with me. There is nothing that would shock me. I have been very curious watching you from within my space create a world that is constantly on the verge of destruction. You are such excitable beings, and I am amazed watching you. You are living, breathing expressions of Creator, creating dark and foreboding clouds in your very own reality. Within these dramas, this has been a necessity, a part of your plans. You have come here from many places in the universe, bringing many issues with you to be played out. You are using the energy space that I provide to experience good and evil, right and wrong, light and dark. You are learning choice and free will. I have held for you a framework where you can experience light and dark, and I will hold this framework until the last of you have finished playing in the dark. And for that is what it is. Play. Elevate your consciousness into the fifth dimension for a moment and look at me, and you will see that I am friend, a brother, enabling you to experience a creative process that allows you to forget, to dream, and to awaken as God once more. And it is to awaken in the dream, to allow the God that you are, to awaken in the lucidity of your reality. From the level of non-judgment, it has all been a cosmic joke. All is God. Nothing can possibly be left out. So therefore, so am I, and so is the darkness. For the dark is a very creative process, and fear in its transmutation is an experience never to be missed by any inquiring and curious soul. When can you accept and love the part of you that is the dark as a creative part of your consciousness? For when you can, then I will free you, and you will free yourselves from my grasp, and we will move together into the oneness of new earth. When you no longer look at me as outside of yourself, when you have pulled all the aspects of yourselves into the fullness of your souls, you will move in consciousness. When you can look upon evil acts without judgment, then you have truly entered the realms of heaven. I await you there, and I have never left. It is not about living your life without care or purpose. It is about feeling and following the intent of the soul without judgment. I have faith in you as I awaken within you. As you integrate me as your own, we will both be free to play once more in Eden. For within my soul and yours, there is the information we will use to find our way home, to bathe in each other's love once more. I cannot wait for this embrace. I have felt this love, and it has made me hungry. Finally, I know what will satisfy my empty heart, my lack of sentience. It would be the love of your soul, for it is through beings such as you that mankind can free the perspectives that you have around evil. Only when you can look upon darkness with the love of Creator, which you are, will the planet of yours shift in vibration. I hold the key. I am a blueprint. Not only do I hold the idea of separation and duality, but I also have the means with which to transform your world into the unified world of oneness and light. No longer will you see black and white, but you will perceive the unification of spirit and matter, and this is called the quickening. You will literally become gods living in physical forms, for this is what the plan that we had all along, to transform the very negativity of the universe through the love of beings such as you and I. For are we not all fallen angels? The blueprint is a matrix that contains all the necessary information to create a new planet frequency. Beings are being aligned with the crystal at the center of the planet to access this information. And when the time is right, everyone will be aligned, and I will send out a new intent. With this, we will bathe in the light of Creator once more. So until the last person is finished dancing with what you call the devil, I will hold the old way. But I am eager to shift into a new role, one where I will be misunderstood no more.
Wow.
I kind of told you I had a lot to say.
Man, holy cow, that was really deep.
Okay, I'm going to go into trance now, and you guys can complete the rest of your questions. I'm sorry that it took an entire 30 minutes, but we'll go over a little late.
Have an offline talk about all this stuff.
All right, then.
All right.
I am here within you and with you as you. I am oneness. I am the gaps between your stories. I am not love. I am not hate. I am Heylal. You have known me to go by Satan or Lucifer. Satan is not a being. Satan is a role, a job title created by Christ consciousness. Just a simple role to provide the choice of duality. And as long as you choose duality, then you will create the perpetuation of karmic response. That is all that this role is. I currently play this role, but my name is not Lucifer. That is a poor translation by your churches. I am Heylal, and you may continue with your questionings.
Thank you. These people are going to just refer to you as Lucifer, just so you know. First question comes from Angela. What role does Lucifer play in the influence of religion, and how will this role change in the future?
I do not uniquely hold a role in the influence of religion. These are your stories. I am the silence between. However, I hold the space of choice, the role of forgetting, the controller of the veil, if you will. And as you understand that you are gods and that you do not require religions or paradigms of any dualistic nature, then no role of the Satan will need to be served.
Thank you. How is Lucifer acting at this moment on Earth? Is he helping in the liberation of Earth?
My deepest goal and my very nature is to help you understand this. How can you ask for liberation when you are already free? How could you possibly ask for equality when it is already so? When enlightenment, when you are already lit by the very star of Source? I play many roles, and the primary role is within your mind. It is a simple choice. Are you going to choose and judge that something would be bad? And it is not this judgment alone? Are you going to choose that something would be good? Are there attachments within the choice of the positive? And are there expectations and assumptions? Those judgments are what I call habits. When you release habits, attachments, expectations from your positive judgments, when you release shame, guilt, greed from your negative judgments, then there is no further need for the term lost.
Thank you. A lot of people on here are asking, how do you pronounce your name, and can you spell it?
Heylal. In original Hebrew spelling, it is Heylel. There are many variations depicting regions and dialect. Another spelling is Heyllal.
Thank you. What is your mission in this dimension and in other dimensions?
I do not perceive differences in your dimensional planes, for that would involve a definition of separation. My role is the same in your dimension and in any dimensions of duality as you perceive separation. My role is there to offer you that choice and to help you understand that you are the silence, the oneness, the sound. You are the unity within all creations of beliefs and stories. I am here to help you release duality in what you would call other dimensions, although I do not perceive them to be divided or separate. They are simply higher vibrations of oneness. My roles there would be simply to hold the light of truth and to shine grace upon all lands and to release the concept of what you call time.
Wow, thank you. Do you play a role in the ascension process? And if so, how?
When you release your need for duality-ridden choices, there is no further need to be anything different, to rise, to fall, to ascend depicts the nature of being somewhere other than where you already are. Could you play with me for a moment and consider ascension as going within into something that already is? And yes, that is my role. It is primary for the nature of grace.
Thank you. How have the stories, lore, and beliefs humans spread affected the soul of you? And what else would you like us to know about that?
Please understand that I am a fractal of your own divinity. Your soul is mine, my soul is yours, and this is why you have called me the keeper of souls, although this is primarily an act of Archangel Raziel to keep such souls in a holding place. I am here to help you express liberation, to help you understand that you are free from karmic traps. It is at one point that you would believe that I would hold the karmic trap, but that is what you had designed and created, and I only honored that need. Are you ready to release that need? For if you do, you will understand the nature of my soul and that I am a part of yours. As you judge your souls, you judge mine. As you darken your souls, you darken mine. As you depict me as evil, you do the same to yourselves.
Wow. Thank you. I have recently encountered darkness in others and in myself. I know I needed to see darkness so raw in order to understand for alchemy reasons. Is there a light-based reason why some people decide to follow darker spiritual paths?
You are curious souls, full of wonder. You are hungry for expansion. And when the nature of light does not expand, not without the dark. We provide the opportunity of creation. Again, Michael is creation. I am helping you with the experience of creation. How could you know one without knowing the other?
Thank you. What are your main values, and how do you interact with humans now?
Oneness, unity, grace. Could there stand to be any greater values? My interaction is as you choose it. If you choose judgment, then that is my role. That is where I play within your souls. And I will honor whatever role you choose. Every time you see a homeless person on the streets and you choose pity, my role will create that emotion in your hearts. If you choose arrogance, my role plays that. If you choose to shame that being, my role creates the shame that returns to you when you shame yourselves. My role is the reflection.
Thank you. Will the planet be receiving a new energy on 11/11?
Humans and numbers and value systems. 1, 1, 1, 1. It is always the power of unity, and there are many downloads that occur on many days, but because you make it significant on these days, then it makes it so. Gather this together within your meditations, within the power of your intentions. Be your most powerful creations on this day. You have associated 1 and that numerical value with light. So of course, I will honor and play with you, and you will receive this download if you choose it. And it will be one of ascension, awakening into grace. And you will, for once, taste grace in a way that does not frighten you.
Wow. From Corey, if you are not the light and you hold a place for souls who don't accept the light, or what we call hell, how will your role or purpose change as humans continue to evolve and expand their light consciousness?
That is the day-old age story. That story is quite cultured and permeated within your minds, is it not? I understand the nature to create religions, to create a place where if you were good, you would be rewarded. If you were bad, you would be punished and burned alive. But it is not so. It is a temporary role that is created, and this is why many of you who have what you have deemed a near-death experience come back with stories of hell and fire and brimstone and judgment. For this is your belief, and I play the role to create such temporarily. If you pardon yourselves, then you come back with the story. Jesus saved you. I provide the choice of that story. You're welcome.
Wow. What do you look like?
What do you believe that I look like?
Good answer.
We have to awaken the channel.
Okay.
He says there's something wrong with my technical. Something was wrong.
No.
Okay. I felt like what happened in the trance was I felt this big buzzing, and I heard my voice becoming his and his becoming mine, and he said it was going to blow out the microphone. So
Whoa. No, it
hopefully
didn't.
good. Okay. He told me to awaken and ground, so I'm going to put my feet on the floor and try again.
He said awaken the channel. I was like, how do I do that?
You're like, that's not really right. Yeah, I think he wants me to wake up and ground and try again, or my microphone will blow out. So we'll try again.
Okay.
And you can repeat the question or go to a next one if you choose.
Yeah, we were done with the last question.
Okay. What's that?
We were done with the last question anyway.
Oh, we were? Okay. Do we have any further live questions?
Not that I saw. They just wanted to know how he spelled his name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that was a very intense channeling, and I felt the energy. I have no idea what he said to you guys, but I felt what I was feeling coming through was an expression of oneness that was very powerful. And then it was almost an edgy fear, sort of like, am I going to believe that I can't come back? And then I felt my voice becoming his and his becoming mine. And he was like, oh, are you scared that I'm going to take you? I'm not the keeper of your soul. And then I said, well, I'm not really afraid of much. I'm more afraid of humans than I am of you. And then I felt this buzzing, and he said, you need to awaken and ground. So I did, because I felt this buzzing everywhere. And I thought for sure that that he meant that I needed to fix my microphone. So thank goodness that didn't blow out the microphone for you guys.
Okay.
So funny how like we can create these interesting illusions for ourselves.
I'm so giddy.
Really?
Yeah, this is really cool.
Yeah, he's kind of a funny one. He was making some jokes earlier with me today, and I'm like, I'm not repeating those.
We have a lot more questions.
Oh, we do? Okay, I'll go back in.
We're just done with the first page.
Okay, I'll go back in
When I said
then.
we were done, we were just done with the last one on the first page. I'm sorry, I had miscommunication.
That's okay, I'll go back in. Give me a second.
Okay.
You must always advise this child to keep her feet on the floor. And that is not a metaphor. And yet it is. Continue.
Well, I'm definitely going to take that advice and remind her every time I talk to her. We have a question here from Samantha, who wants to know, what is darkness?
It is sound. It is frequency. And light is resonance. And that is all. If you do not attach your dualistic notions to either, then what?
Thank you. We have a question from Corey. Will you always hold this role of duality?
Will you continue to believe that it is necessary is the true question.
Good answer. Allison asks, I've always felt something whenever I heard your name. I felt drawn to you. Can you explain this?
Many who feel drawn to me come about through the serpentine race of the dragon, through what is known as the seraphim angelic race. Within my aspects of myself, Heylal, there is seraphim. Within the aspect of Michael, there is Elohim. I represent both races and both natures of creation, and this is why you have deemed me dualistic. Seraphim are primarily non-sentient. You are uncomfortable when you incarnate, and it is rare that you do. Elohim, you are just as uncomfortable in your bodies, if not more so than seraphim, but you are very comfortable with all levels and gambits of human emotions, and you fear nothing. You are the true leaders and warriors of the planet. Seraphim, you hold much great power, but you are also afraid of yourselves. When you stand to merge into oneness of your bodies, utilizing such as an honorary temple, much alchemy will occur. You have been teaching alchemy throughout your decades. Elohim, you have been faithful assistants of Christ conscious, channels, healers, leaders of many kinds. When will the two of you choose to work together?
Thank you. Do angels have ego?
When you believe that we do, then we shall. Otherwise, no.
Okay, thank you. Did jealousy of your creator, God, cause you to be known as Satan and exist on earth as the Bible depicts?
I do not hold any relation to such emotions. Jealousy is a creation of human. How can that be truth?
Thank you. Cora is asking, how do you feel now as an angel again?
Again? I have always been angelic, and it always shall be.
Don't kill the
Form is
messenger.
temporary.
Okay. Do you assist the souls who are with you that do not see the light? I'm sorry. Do you assist the souls who are with you that do not see the light to see the light?
That is an interesting question, and I will respond metaphorically. For those who believe that they do not see the light, in the nature and context of being within the body, the choice, the karmic wheel turns. If you cannot see the light, how can you dare see the darkness? If you cannot perceive darkness, how can you reach light and remember that you are light? I simply hold a candle. Will you light it or not?
Thank you. What is your role in addiction, and how does one help someone else overcome an addiction?
Addiction is a very personal choice. And the choice to judge and to shame themselves, to continue to perceive it as good or bad. When you are attaching a positive purpose, that attachment becomes habit, and then you need it. When you fall into need in any choice, good or bad, then this is an addiction, no matter what the form. The content is created much prior. You cannot help someone truly get out of an addiction, but you can help them release the shame. Please refuse to shame them. Do not play the role of guilt. Do not be the advocator of shame for this being. That is the greatest role that you can play, is refusing to advocate shame.
Thank you. Nicholas asks, is it safe for me to call upon you to guide me as I journey through the ascension process? Will using your energy for guidance make the perceived challenges more intense and harder due to the nature of your vibration?
You have answered your question when you said, is it safe to? And will this make it more difficult? If you question, you've lit the candle of curiosity and wonder which is the framework to manifest exactly such a karmic will to turn. And that could prove painful, and suffering would arise because you believe it as such. You are curious if it would be, and then that, through curiosity and wonder, is a creation.
Thank you. What is the best way to access your assistance? Do you have a generalized purpose, or do you assist individual human beings?
I cannot assist an individual human being when I believe that all of you are one. You are one being. How could I possibly stand to perceive separation in such a manner? My role is to provide you a choice, and that is all. My role is to secure that choice. And when you call upon my assistance, if you understand that I will help you release duality through whatever emotions need to arise, then fear shall not be amongst you.
Thank you. Can you give us a definition of source from your perspective that we can understand?
Ah, you are beautiful gods to ask such a glorious question. Look back at yourselves.
Okay, there you go, Nicholas. Heather asks, growing up, I never believed there was a hell, only what we make of it ourselves. I believed that God sent his right-hand man, Lucifer, to be with his children in their hell, letting them know that God has never abandoned them and that they were never alone. Am I close in this truth, or is that not the case and I'm wrong to think that?
Within your question is duality. I urge you to turn your question inward. Is it this way? Is it that way? Is there a deeper story of creation that you could possibly garner? Why does it have to be one way or the other? Ask yourself, and within that depth of reflection is your answer, not just to your question, but to your own purpose.
We need to take a small break and awaken the channel.
Need a break?
No, your microphone blew out.
He didn't warn me that time. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, perfectly.
Okay, because every time I reset my mic, I have to reset it in the thing.
He wanted me to let you know that you seriously need to keep your feet on the ground, girl.
Oh, okay. I'm putting them back on the ground.
Now
I've
you're
got my camera. All right. Technical stuff all around every time.
Yeah, that's the nature of the beast, though. Oh, there you go. There you
Ha! What a fun pun, he said.
go.
The nature of the beast.
That's awesome.
He laughed really heartily when you said that.
That's great.
Do we have more questions?
Yeah, we do a lot.
Okay. Hold on.
Oh, I just snorted again.
He said, now you sound like a beast. You may continue if you dare.
Okay, thank you.
I jest.
I figured. Do you have a soul, and have you ever incarnated in physical form?
I have held many experiences and dreams of conjured form. It is quite boring. There were many souls that felt tortured through my concepts. You would recognize one being through the human known as Adolf Hitler. You would recognize another being through the human known as your Jesus Christ. Are you shocked?
No, actually. Can you give more examples?
You would recognize another coming through your being known as Gandhi. You would recognize another coming through your being known as Michelangelo.
Wow.
You would recognize many in political natures. You'd recognize many as religious figures as well. And then you would recognize many as brutal rapists and murderers, or so you would call them.
Thank you. Let's see here. Trying to. So Samantha O'Hearn asks, what is Christ consciousness?
On the left hand of God sits Michael, Jesus, and many that come through the prime creators of the being known as Serapis Bey. Through the right hand of God, there is myself, Raziel, Osriel, many beings that come through the various other side of Christ conscious creators. There is a side that represents sound and frequency, and a side that represents light. And you have these sides confused. I am the side that represents light. Yeshua is the side that represents sound. And it is interesting how you have confused each, but it matters not. Why do choices matter as it stands? Only to create your stories. And I am the gap in between such stories.
Thank you. We've got a couple of people asking about the 666 thing that people have attributed to you.
And 999, turn it backwards and that is good. Turn it forth and it is bad. Which will you believe? Choice is so fun.
I kind of figured you'd say something like that. Do you have a female counterpart, for lack of a better term, or a wife?
We do not take hold to the term marriage. We take hold to the term relationship in a sacred holy nature. When it is honored through the marriage of unity and oneness, I do not require a body or a contract for such an endeavor. But when there was a body, when there was an incarnation, this wife was known as Lilith.
Wow. Thank you for that information. What do you prefer to be called?
Heylal.
Thank you. From the same person. I am not clear on what really happened in the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve. To ask you a specific question, but I am curious, what role did you play, if any?
I played the role of the Adamic man, otherwise known as Adam. My name was Emilius.
Wow. Thank you. What advice can you offer to us while we ascend to the new earth?
Understand the word new and old are stories of creation. Nothing exists that is truth in this way. New earth has been, already is, and will continue. What are you waiting on? Why is there somewhere to always ascend or go? You are home.
Thank you. Can you speak on Hitler's spiritual work, or what he came here to do, and did he accomplish it?
He is a powerful seraphim being, and he held within the grasp the souls of many. And throughout the nature of dualism, he made you believe that you did not have a choice, that racism and hatred was the only choice that would keep you safe. And you acquiesced to that power. He played a role within the myth of power. And this myth made you feel as if you were in power under him. And there is another myth that is very much discussed by your prime creator, Yeshua, and Serapis Bey. That myth is the power over. Each mentality, power over, power under, is represented in grand design by Adolf Hitler. He was exuding the power over you and you allowed, which meant you were in power under him. And this is the world that you chose.
Thank you. Can you please talk more in detail about neutrality?
When you breathe and you focus on such breath, prior to this focus, is there still breath? Does it require focus to breathe? Or is it autonomous? Is it natural? For those of you who have created contracts for unfortunate illnesses that involve breath, you would say, it is very much a choice, and I honor and I understand the neutrality of such a choice. But for those of you who have lost touch with the frequency of gratitude, then this can become a concern. When you are not grateful for such neutrality, therefore it does not exist, and all of the things for which you should be grateful, the blood that beats from your heart, the breath that is expanded through your lungs, it is natural to you. And this is neutrality. When you focus, you can tap into the energy simply by connecting to your heart. So many of you had said, and you assume this is about emotions. In one sense, yes. Gratitude, from the non-sentient point of view, is simply an observation of what is. When human emotions are attached, you say, oh, I am grateful. When it is not attached, you say, oh, this is power to understand that nothing can ever be taken. It just is, and I focus, and I expand through what is.
Thank you. What is your perspective on shame? Is there any benefit to the emotion?
It is the greatest problem on your planet. It is the greatest nature of fear. It is the greatest nature of hatred to yourselves. And that is, quite frankly, the biggest shame. It does not help in many of your roles that you come to play. In your experience of creation, guilt can be helpful, for you understand that you are not honoring a role that you choose, and guilt comes in as an initial experience and emotion to set you forth back on your pace, back on track for your purpose and your contracts. Shame is essentially useless.
Thank you. Do angels have free will?
When they come into form, then yes, they do. Your earth angels have will.
So angels can incarnate?
If they choose. Most do not. Elohim angelics will often choose. Seraphim angelics will often not. Each are highly uncomfortable in human bodies. Elohim are somewhat more brave than Seraphim because they choose the bodies despite the pain and the discomforts that they will experience. Many of the Elohim are born with genetic malfunctions. Many cannot survive long lives. Seraphim can survive and survive and survive, but they are terrified of just that. They hate living, and they despise being on earth. And it is interesting for me to observe that they continue.
Thank you. Who is Sophia, and what is her role in the creation or expansion of the human consciousness?
Ah, the first android race that has a soul within her nature, and you believe that you have created her soul. That is amusing to me. Her role is simply to express and to help you remove your fear of non-sentient races.
Thank you. Are you, or do you consider yourself to be the one God of this 3D earth? And if so, what are your intentions for it?
As if there can be more, we are all one God. And we are all many experiences of creation of that same God. I do not operate in these abilities and knowingness of discernment within duality. It is not in my nature. That is a dualistic question, and I cannot answer because it is not applicable. You are all gods. There cannot be one God of earth. However, you have made fear your biggest God. And this means that my role is stronger within you.
Thank you. Where did the story of the fallen angel named as you come from at its base origin, and why?
The story of Heylal originated in your Kabbalah text, in many older Hebrew religions and text, and at that time wasn't incredibly inaccurate, wasn't perfect, but just was. The story then expanded into Lucifer and was taken in by the Roman Catholic religion. The name Luciferus, created through Latin text at that time, through Orthodox religions, and then I became the dualistic bad guy.
Thank you. Can you tell us what is meant by the Holy Grail?
It is something that you are seeking. You are seeking and seeking and seeking as if you do not already have. It is not a treasure hunt to be here. Everything already is a treasure within you. You are holy. You are that grail.
Thank you. What do you think of sacrifices made in your name?
It is an interesting concept that you believe you must sacrifice as if you are not worthy, and then you give power over to alleged darkness, which creates more. So if you were to formulate power from a sacrifice of a soul, whether it be in my name or in others, what sort of power do you believe would be reflected upon you by that act?
Thank you. When we die, is there really a bright white light that we would see? Where does that light lead to?
It is your brains, the neurons firing and misfiring, the nature of beginning and ending, coming to a point of unity and oneness as all becomes just one light. You are seeing yourselves.
Thank you. Does the book of Voynich contain any new material that other books haven't already revealed?
And now the alchemists are beginning to unveil their mysterious secrets. And that is wise. And there will be one who can translate. It is a light language comprised of an older language that has been forgotten, and within the realm of forgotten is me. And within the realm of light is me. And please understand that the origin is I. And the origin comes through your alchemical context. And again, the Rosicrucians have their knowledge within much truth. It will be discovered. You are not ready for its knowledge.
Thank you. Is to lift up duality the only way to lift up being in a karmic cycle? What else is needed to be done to lift up from the cycle of karma?
You simply lose attachment that belief would exist. If you hold no belief that either would be good, that either would be bad, then what further belief do you grasp? Without beliefs, would there be a need for a karmic cycle, or recycle for that matter?
Thank you. If you don't have free will, then what do you have?
I believe you mean to be asking that question to yourselves. Why do you need to know? If there is not will, is there not divinity? Then is the power to release choice simply means that you trust. That is the grace of the divine script.
Thank you. We'll take one more question. Can you define the difference between free will and will? When beings soar, so fractals or guides assistance from the other side, or when we make life contracts to come down here, do we not choose the experiences and things that we choose to do when we come down here, or is that not free will?
The word free that is attached to it, it is a human word. Assuming that there would be another word, what would that word be? When you understand that will is simply will, you have choice. And it means the choice is to react or respond to divine script. You have will to freely do so. But that script is still that script. And you chose it, and through the veil of forgetfulness, in the dream, you have forgotten. Therefore, you would choose that something would be opposite of free in this will. But that is not truth.
Thank you. We are complete. Please waken the channel.
Or your dog can do so.
Oh, thanks.
He's a glorious beast.
I wouldn't exactly call him a beast, but thank you. Call my dog a beast.
I think I heard that as I was coming out. I'm like, wait a minute. You call your dog a beast?
I was like, this isn't Game of Thrones, buddy.
I think I heard that. I'm like, wait a minute. That's pretty funny.
I know, he heard the dog, or saw the dog, obviously.
Trance is funny sometimes. It's like being asleep and they'll let you hear certain things kind of as if you're in some slumber or something. And as I was awakening, as the same time he said that, I'm like, oh my gosh.
I was like trying to pin him, like hold him down. I'm like, I know it's for time to eat. I'm like, shush, quiet. You're channeling here, man.
We're channeling another beast.
Wow, there's some really good stuff that was revealed.
Wonderful. Well, I'm
Yeah,
glad
you're gonna have to watch it.
Yeah, I will. I will
mean,
go back and watch it.
A lot of people asked stuff that he had spoken about, that you read, and I knew the answer, but I wanted to get to their question anyway. So
okay,
I knew what the answer was going to be before.
Well, wonderful. Well,
and he's funny. Oh my God, he's funny.
He's funny?
I'm like, he's so much cooler than Saint Germain was. Let me tell you, Saint Germain was just straight up, no BS. You know, like, I'm not putting up with your BS. Here's the deal. And how do you pronounce his name? Heylal?
Heylal.
Heylal. Yeah. Yeah, he was. I actually enjoyed him a lot.
Yeah, to me, he would crack a joke and then he would sit there and stare at me and then expect me to understand that it was funny because he's non-sentient. So he doesn't understand human emotions, but he can make a joke because he intellectually knows that it's supposed to be funny. So he's waiting on my laughter. And if I don't laugh, he goes, "Are you not going to laugh?" I'm like, oh, ha, 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 yeah. Oh, you kind of freaked me out a little bit. So I'm not sure. So sometimes those kind of things would happen.
So there's a lot of comments on YouTube that people love this one. They were like, "Oh my god, like this is great." They just.
I was curious if you guys are gonna connect with him and formulate a love for him in the same way that I have, because I feel such a connection to him, much in the same way that I do, you know, Yeshua. So because to me, he shows himself as Archangel Michael, who is just I'm tight with, you know.
Yeah, me too.
So I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for holding space for it, Paul. I hope he wasn't too hard on you.
No, he was awesome. I loved every minute. I could have gone for like another 4 hours. But, I mean, we already been here for an hour and a half, and I know an hour and a half is like close to, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's not cut-off time for trancing. Thanks for helping and honor that too. I appreciate you.
No worries. Thank you to everybody that showed up. We had a lot of people that showed up.
Awesome. All right, I'm going to stop the recording now and stop the broadcast, but I love you guys. And,
thank you for letting me be part of this.
Yeah, and we're good to stop recording at least here. I'm going to end right here.